President Trump has issued his last warning to Hamas to release the remaining hostages. That comes as Israel is keeping up the pressure on Hamas with more strikes in Gaza.
Israel is also still facing terrorist attacks. At least 6 Israelis were killed on a bus in Jerusalem today. CBN's Chris Mitchell has the story.
In addition to murdering multiple Israelis, the 2 Palestinians injured nearly 20 others. The terrorists boarded a bus and began shooting before they were eliminated. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the scene.
We are at war, an intense war against terrorism on several fronts, and unfortunately in Jerusalem as well. The ISA, IDF, and the Israeli police have thwarted hundreds of terror attacks this year, but unfortunately, not this morning.
The terror attack follows a Houthi drone strike Sunday that hit the airport near the resort town of Eilat. While Israel faces multiple terror attacks, President Trump sounded optimistic about a deal to free the hostages.
We're trying to get it ended, get the hostages back, get it ended. We got them all back, but 20. And as you know, we have 20, plus there are a lot of, unfortunately, dead bodies involved. And they want them back. The parents want them back. So we had some very good discussions, good things that happened.
On Truth Social, Trump issued a strong warning. Everyone wants the hostages home. Everyone wants this war to end. The Israelis have accepted my terms. It is time for Hamas to accept as well. I have warned Hamas about the consequences of not accepting. This is my last warning. There will not be another one. Hamas responded by saying it will immediately sit at the negotiating table to discuss the release of all prisoners in exchange for a clear declaration of the end of the war and a complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. Trump's warning comes as Israel continues its campaign to take over Hamas's last major stronghold, Gaza City. The IDF has destroyed a number of high-rise buildings in Gaza City and released this video showing how Hamas uses them as military headquarters. Israel is warning Gazans to leave the city to get them out of harm's way. So far, about 100,000 have left, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Hamas is trying to get them to stay.
To remain there so that they can serve as a human shield for them. Incidentally, it does not skimp on means. We only recently saw that it shoots women and children in the legs and, if necessary, shoots them.
Netanyahu also admitted because of the war, Israel is paying a high price in the diplomatic and propaganda fields. He says the best way to fight this is a quick end to the war and victory.
If I have to choose between victory over our enemies and bad propaganda against us, I choose victory over our enemies, rather than the opposite. I don't want articles that we are defeated by our enemies and that we receive good obituary articles in the world media. I choose victory.
Well, Chris Mitchell is with us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, Netanyahu wants Israel to end the war quickly. I think we all want the war to be over. How long does Israel believe it will take to finish the job?
Well, Gordon, it may take weeks and maybe even take a few months. They want to be methodical, the IDF. 2 reasons for that. They want to minimize IDF casualties because Hamas has set up ambushes using their labyrinth of terror tunnels in Gaza City. They also want to minimize civilian casualties. That's why they're asking people to evacuate Gaza City, and they're setting up humanitarian zones down south. They plan, like we said in our report, to take out Hamas's advantages, like those high-rise towers that Hamas is using as military headquarters. But as it goes into Gaza City, Israel's also facing international pressure and growing for a Palestinian state. And Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar addressed that today after this terror attack, and he said the terrorists this morning came from the PA territories, and so the establishment of such a terror state would have one goal: the elimination of the state of Israel.
Well, I've got to ask, how did the terrorists in this morning's attack, how did they get the weapons? I thought Israel had all of that clamped down. It seems amazing that they were able to get that and get that on a bus.
Yeah, well, as Prime Minister Netanyahu said, they've literally thwarted hundreds of terror attacks from Judea and Samaria. Unfortunately, this one got through. Sometimes these are homemade weapons. The one they had today was called a Carlo, and it's like a automatic little machine gun. And unfortunately, they had probably a couple of minutes to be inside that bus and literally kill 7 now that we've just found out, and injure maybe about 20. So it's a very tough job for the IDF and the Israeli police to thwart all of these attacks. Unfortunately, this one got through.
Let's talk about the President Trump and his ultimatum. Hamas responding back that they'll release all the hostages on a condition that Israel completely withdraw from Gaza. Isn't that just a non-starter? Do you ever see Israel withdrawing from Gaza in any kind of near-term scenario?
Those two conditions, I think, are non-starters for Israel, Gordon. The end of the war, a permanent end of the war, and the withdrawal of the IDF forces from all of Gaza. That leaves Hamas in power. And one of the 3 goals of the war at the very beginning has been that Hamas would be defeated and they could not be allowed to govern Gaza. So it seems like those 2 are non-starters for Israel.
Well, one of the goals of the war was clearly a propaganda war. The propaganda machine literally started up within hours of the attack on October 7th. So Israel just took out the chief propaganda operative for Hamas. How important was that? Is there anyone else that is going to fill that role within Hamas?
Well, his name was Abu Obaideh, not a household name, but he was one of the most significant members of Hamas. And for 20 years, he was the mastermind behind Hamas's propaganda machine. He built a propaganda army, believe it or not, Gordon, 1,500 operatives. And Hamas knows it can't defeat Israel on the battlefield. So that's why they invest so heavily in propaganda. He was the one that produced the hostage videos. They were designed to influence Israeli public opinion. He also developed the Famine in Gaza campaign, the Gaza is Starving campaign, and the goal for all this was to generate heart-wrenching propaganda to move the nations of the world against Israel, force Israel to prematurely end the war, and leave Hamas in power. We interviewed Gil Hoffman just yesterday of Honest Reporting, and he told us he hopes the international media would snap out of the trance that Abu Obaideh put them in. I don't know if there's anyone of his caliber they could take over, but they'll certainly try, Gordon.
Well, it seems to be amazing to me that publications, major publications, have totally bought into the Hamas propaganda line and have from the very beginning. And even when it's shown to be a lie, they don't back off of it. They just seem to continue the line. One of the charges, and I think it's the most significant, is that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. How is Israel responding to that in the propaganda war?
Well, they call him false, outrageous. Netanyahu said recently at a statement I was at, if Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could have done it on October 8th. Ambassador Mike Huckabee weighed in. He says if Israel's committing genocide, they're really bad at it. Last week, there was a charge by what's called the International Association of Genocide Scholars. They said that Israel is committing genocide. But actually this week, 170 professionals in the fields of genocide and international law demanded they rescind that resolution. However, the propaganda value is already gone out there against Israel. And what Israel's doing to prevent genocide, they're providing humanitarian aid. And we got a comment from John Spencer. He said, there's no historical precedent for a military providing the level of direct aid to an enemy population that Israel has provided to Gaza. They do that on a daily basis, Gordon. And let me just add, we reached out to Itamar Marcus of the Palestinian Media Watch about this terror attack. He said just 2 weeks ago, there was an official PA sermon on TV, and this is what it said. Allah, count them one by one, kill them one by one, and don't leave even one. And Marcus sees a direct link from that incitement to today's terror attack.
Well, they've been preaching that for some time, and I wish the news media, the English news media in particular, would wake up to it. This is an ideological war, and it has been going on since 1948. On those genocidal scholars, the real facts on the ground is anyone can join that group. You don't have to be a scholar, and you don't have to be an expert on genocide. It's a made-up name, and anyone can join. And so when they vote that it's in our opinion that it's a genocide, there's no scholarly backing to it at all. it's just, again, part of the whole propaganda machine, much like the Gaza Ministry of Health. It's just a propaganda arm of Hamas. It's not any kind of real health agency for the area. It's incredible that we continue to buy into the lie and just repeat it and report it as if somehow there's a fact behind it. It's all made up. It's absolutely incredible. Well, Chris, thanks for the insight and thanks for the reporting from Jerusalem.